Do any of our politicians actually know what time it is in answering the question, what is an American? Let's get into it.
You cannot have a country where the American people keep on electing immigration enforcement and the courts tell the American people they're not allowed to have what they voted for.
My name is Casey, and I have been a therapist, a psychologist, a husband, and a father for more than a decade. And the question of our time in the political arena is, what is an American, and do any of our politicians actually represent us? Let's look at J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, and the current discourse.
Yeah! What?
Stephen Miller posted this on X yesterday. Of all the destructive and ruinous policies aimed at the heart of our republic, few can compete with the birthright citizenship. Every illegal alien, foreign visitor, and visa scammer, merely by giving birth on U.S. soil, can access unlimited welfare for life through their American child and send extra cash back to home to support their foreign village. Birthright citizenship is an atrocity, flagrantly incompatible with the concept of nationhood. I believe that the remittances that are going back to countries like Somalia, which have been so hotly contested in recent days, are part of the reason why there's so much incentive for people to come here, is they're able to access the relative wealth of the American populace right now in the American society, the American economy, and then send large amounts of money back in support for places and peoples that we may not actually have as being in our best interest to support, like Somali nationals who might actually promote terrorists and other things that would be destructive to the American citizenry. So who are the American politicians who can drive the American heritage in the right direction or even know what time it is? I think Trump has made some statements about being a little bit more soft on integrating people like H-1B visa holders, and probably holds a much more classical liberal mindset, not necessarily the classical liberal of the founding, but the liberals of the 1980s and 90s when Trump was coming of age. And it's very difficult for someone of his generation to get out of the mindset that was so prevalent during his time, which was America's an idea. The heritage of America is founded by immigrants, all of those kinds of ideas that were really a post-war consensus liberal world order type of view.
You can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn.
And that brings us to J.D. Vance. Of course, I am in Middletown, Ohio, where J.D. spent a large portion of his upbringing, and I am directly encountering the deindustrialization. As a therapist, I talk to a lot of people who have suffered really from the deindustrialization of the Midwest. Formerly one of the most wealthy regions in the entire world, has now been decrepit and falling apart, and the people are a representative of that. They are struggling mightily economically, financially, emotionally, and with even traumatic experiences related to the loss of wealth on the part of their forebears. And so J.D. Vance had this clip in a recent interview where he demonstrates that he knows exactly what an American is and how to protect that American, and whether or not he is the candidate for 2028, this type of mentality is far past Trump in terms of his ability to be rigorous in defense of the American heritage, and perhaps far more in the direction that we want to take this country.
You cannot have a country where the American people keep on electing immigration enforcement and the courts tell the American people they're not allowed to have what they voted for. And that's where we are right now. We're going to keep working it through the immigration court process, through the Supreme Court as much as possible. And look, success to me is not so much a number, though obviously I'd love to see the gross majority of the illegal immigrants who came in under Biden deported. That actually is a secondary metric of success. Success to me is that we have established a set of rules and principles that the courts are comfortable with, and that we have the infrastructure to do that allows us to deport large numbers of illegal aliens when large numbers of illegal aliens come into the country. That to me is real success.
I hope that JD Vance is the candidate for 2028, and I hope that we can establish again what is an American. It is helpful if you have been in this country for generations because you begin to assimilate in the American culture, which is generally Protestant, hardworking, and has a value of things like free speech, freedom to defend yourself with weaponry, and a freedom to be strivers and push forward an ideal and an American dream. And if you have heritage in this country, multiple generations, that begins to impose itself upon you over and over, and you begin to take up what it means to be an American in ways that are fundamentally necessary if our country is going to persist. And while I recognize that we have a severe birth rate problem, obviously the liberal world order fix to that is to bring in people from foreign countries that do not represent our values. The American solution should be, let's give our people back the hope, the economic capacity, and the freedom necessary to have confidence to have their own children so that we can begin to remake the American sentiment one generation after another. And I pray that we can do that together because I have 4 children that are entering into, adolescence that absolutely need an American ideal as the forefront of what it means to pursue a life in this country. And if that ideal has been continually wiped away by those in power and continually disseminated by bringing in millions of people who don't share that ideal, that is something that will ultimately lead to our downfall and could really hurt us in the generations to come, which is my foremost concern. So while political wrangling is maybe necessary, it is time to answer the question, what is an American, and make our politicians hold to that ideal and pursue that ideal in all of their politics and all of their policy making. And I support JD in that. I think he's the best we've got right now. If you can support that idea and this channel, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for all the new subs, and I appreciate your support for this Midwestern midwit. I'll talk to you soon.